Okay, so we are live and we are all ready to start.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is the Discussions with the Fascia Masters, episode 3. And joining us today, of course, is my nephew, Quinn Castellane, Vice President and Lead Block Therapist, as well as Fascia Masters, Tammy and Barry Gibson. Welcome, you guys. I have known these two, I think it's 4 years already now.
4 or 5 anyway.
Might be
Five.
5, yeah.
Holy smokes, it's incredible how time flies.
Flying.
Yes, it sure is. And you know what? I'm going to just turn it right over to both of you because you both have such an incredible story of how we met, of how block therapy has benefited you both personally and with your business. And we just have a lot to discuss today. So welcome. And I'm going to throw it right over to you both.
Thanks both of you guys.
Thanks, Deanna. Yeah, we're so pleased to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting us to talk. And we love block therapy and we love talking about fascia. So just quickly to talk about how we met, we were just discussing this earlier. Literally, we found one of your blocks under a Christmas tree at my brother's about 5 years ago or so.
That was weird.
And
Very weird.
It was such an intriguing piece of wood. Oh my God, what is this, piece of wood? And my brother's girlfriend at the time, it's block therapy, can help chronic pain. Yeah. And, Barry's like, oh, my back. We all had some chronic pain issues at the time, but it was like, okay, well, let's get on this piece of wood. Barry, I'll let you kind of take over from there.
Yeah, it was, I often think about it, and it's just the coincidence. It's just strange, Christmas Eve and everything. And I was really struggling again with my back. And we just got over there talking about it and said, she said, oh, you got to try this. You got to try this. And she pulled, the piece of wood. And I'm looking at this like, are you kidding me? A piece of wood? I'm going to lay on this to help my back. But thankfully, I was so desperate. I was looking for relief and I tried it. And of course, that first time we tried it, we did it all wrong, and I laid on this wood and I'm going like, holy smokes.
But then she connected us to Deanna. So once we got connected to Deanna, things changed. And, with Barry's chronic back pain for the last 20 years, I think that was a key motivator for us to do that. As well as I've been having really bad hip and shoulder pain with my golf game. And so, Barry, you tell your story about the back because it's pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's it's a game changer for me in everything I do. I could go back to about 30 pounds heavier and about 6 inches on my waist. I had 20 years of back pain, daily pain, lots of back restrictions, compression, and it was just wearing me out. And I've done a lot of therapies over the years, and they've all been good and very helpful, but nothing was really long-term and lasting to get rid of that pain. And it was like a daily belt of pain and compression around my back. And, you wake up with it, you go through the day with it, you go to bed with it, you wake up in the middle of the night with it. And it was just constant. And Deanna was the first person or the first therapist I saw that really dealt with the causes for it. And it wasn't just the back, it was other areas. And I had immediate release pretty quick in terms of that daily pain. And then after that, my mobility has been improving, constantly as we go along. I've had some pretty massive postural realignments or rib releases as I go. And every time I've had one of those, I feel better. And as I said, I've lost probably almost 30 pounds since starting it, and it's helped everything I do, get way better.
I remember one day at work, he was, showing me a letter from his neurologist because he had all these tests about how he could make his back better. And, literally it was like, well, I don't know, you're almost at the point now where nothing is going to change with your back. You might end up in a wheelchair. I mean, and that's pretty dramatic. And, and that's, I think, good motivation too for him to try something new. And thank goodness we found Deanna. I mean, it's been a game changer for him for his back. I remember mornings where he would wake up. I mean, he couldn't even bend over to put on his socks, and I'd have to help him put on his socks. And now he's moving furniture now.
I'm doing all kinds of stuff that I never thought I could do. And I feel like 20, 30 years younger. Yeah. I feel good every day. I'm not perfect, but I feel way better. And I'm motivated to do things now that I couldn't do before. I feel like playing golf. I feel like getting better every day. I feel great every day. it's complemented everything I've done. Like, it's been life-changing for me. I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah. And so when we discovered this, I'll tell my story in a bit, but we realized right away, wow, this is going to have huge benefits for golfers and helping their golf game and their overall health. So for myself, I'd had chronic shoulder and hip pain on the right side for many years. And I'm a competitive golfer. I've been competing for 30 years, amateur golf. And I was getting to the point the last couple of years of my, during my games, where at the end of the swing, I'd be anticipating that pain because I knew it was coming in the hip. And you can't play golf doing that. You can't fully swing freely through the ball. And it was just getting to be too much. It was affecting my game. I wasn't playing as well. And so I needed to find something. And it kind of happened at the same time we discovered the block and helping Barry's back. So I immediately went on the 21-day program that Deanna offers. And oh my God, I can't believe what happened to me in 21 days. 15 minutes a day, life-changing. So the chronic pain in my hip and shoulder disappeared. I knew I was getting loosening up scar tissue. This was an old baseball injury in my shoulder. On the top of my backswing, I'd hear this big click every time, and I had no good range of motion here. So that's completely dissolved out that scar tissue in my shoulder area here. And my hip is, kind of a work in progress. So I have to keep on it all the time, but it's like 80% better. I no longer feel that pain when I'm swinging through the ball. So I have some stiffness, but I have to keep working at that. But the other things that happened when I went through that program is I lost about 8 pounds unexpectedly, which was like, wow, what a great side benefit. But also the awareness with the breathing and the postural alignment. For me, especially the breathing has been huge because it has so many other health benefits, as we know, and especially in these times right now with COVID and everything and dealing with stress and anxiety. The diaphragmatic breathing for me is the biggest game changer of all. So we've incorporated this into our lives. We do it every day. Sometimes it's 15 minutes a day. Sometimes we do a full program, but it's been a huge game changer for us. And, we can't be more thankful and grateful that we met Deanna and that has brought this into our lives. Carrying on with my story, I knew, as I said, that this was going to be huge for golfers, and I wanted to teach this to golfers. And so I enrolled in Block Therapy University, and I'm now a certified block therapy instructor. So I'm able to teach this to others, and we're just having a blast with it. So Barry's the golf instruction side, being a PGA of Canada golf pro. I'm the block therapy person, helping with the golf body piece. And so together, we kind of come together. We have a business called Hole in One Success, where we bring components together to help golfers, be more flexible, be healthier, improve their golf swing, and just enjoy life more.
Thank you for sharing that so much, you guys. And so one of the things that we're offering today is a free gift for people to learn about the fascia and what block therapy is all about, as well as to give a free gift away for anybody that doesn't have a block that needs assistance with getting back to proper diaphragmatic breathing. That is being offered. Now, both of you have added testimonials to my book, Fascia Decompression, The Missing Link in Self-Care, which is fantastic. And Barry, I love how you always, come to this expression like, really? A piece of wood? Like,
it blows you away, but you know what? When you just give into it and let it happen and do, it's mind blowing what it can do for you. It complements everything you do.
Yeah.
Everything you do. I do it in the mornings, and then I do my mobility and golf workouts, and it's motivated me to change my life because I feel good every day. So I can go out and do stuff now and feel like doing stuff. And it complements everything you do. So,
and Barry, can you get a little bit more specific with regard to what some of the diagnoses of your back issues are or were in past?
Yeah, that's actually I'm glad you asked that, because somebody just typed this in the question. Can somebody give me an update on Barry's back issue as well? So yeah, if we could do that here, it literally worked out.
Well, I had herniations all the way from L5 up to T1. or protrusions. Had a disc herniation at L5-S1, stenosis, early onset of arthritis, lots of problems with gait mobility. Sitting was torture, standing was torture. I had sciatic pain for about 2 years, constant pain. And I was living on painkillers and other self-medication, which wasn't really helping me too much. And the block is my new drug. I don't take any medicine, nothing. I don't take nothing. I use the block, and I use it in the morning. I use it at nights, and it just revitalizes you. It takes away the pain. It gives you energy. You're positive. You feel good, and it, as I said, it complements everything I do.
So Barry, how long were you struggling for? Because I remember when we first met, I don't believe at that time you were even able to play golf.
Not very much. It was very, very limited. And I think that first time I saw you, I could barely get out of the chair. You had me do some stuff, and you had me get down on that piece of wood, and it was just difficult getting down on the ground. Right. Now I can do things I wasn't able to do 20 years ago, for sure.
Like move furniture.
Yeah. I bend over and touch my toes. Like, it blows me away. And just little things that you take for granted. And you go like, wow,
And how much weight have you lost?
What was that?
How much weight have you lost? Because you look like a completely different man.
Oh, I've 25 to 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's coming off more every day, and I feel better, and I've set some goals for myself with that, and the block has helped facilitate that, and I'm able to keep it off.
Yeah, your systems are starting to optimize and just flow properly, which is incredible. And we just had this one person ask, and have you had any, well, I think she mentioned new surgeries, but just any surgeries at all with your back?
No, that was an option that was on the table, and I said, forget it. I wasn't going down that route. And actually, I've got arthritis in both my shoulders. Both my AC joints are bone on bone. This is from golf and whatever. And I woke up a few years ago. This was after I started the block, where suddenly I couldn't pick up my arms over my head.
Wow.
I was wondering what was going on. So I went to the doctor right away, freaking out. And he said, oh, you've got arthritis. You're never going to have your arms up over your head again. Probably going to have to deal with surgery, scrape out those shoulders, and we'll give you some injections. And I said, forget it. I know what to do. And I used the block to start tackling that. And now it's, full range of motion. I can do push-ups, press-ups over my head, and I don't have pain and swelling and that. So yeah,
it's amazing what the body can do naturally when you just allow the body to heal. And what the body can heal if you release the fascia, so that the systems can actually work properly. So many people, like, just understanding the concept of fascia, it's a very simplistic approach. Like, you can make it as complicated as you want, or as simplistic as you want. And it is a very simplistic system as well, especially with how Deanna's put block therapy together, because it's so easy to do. It's almost like too easy to do. People think it's too simple. Like, how can just laying on a wooden block and breathing do all of this? But it's amazing how all of these things have changed. And maybe your intention initially was to rid your chronic back pain, but then you realize, wow, okay, now I'm starting to shed off some inches and weight. Same with you, Tammy. And then your golf swing, your shoulders have changed significantly. And the thing with golf, because I love golf as well, I'm a big time golfer when I can in Winnipeg. But ultimately, when you're swinging in one direction all the time, that can get taxing on the body as well. So we need something that can pretty well counter that continual force in that one direction. So when we keep doing that, we're compressing. And that's why people have injuries or issues with pretty well any sport you play, because not many sports are perfectly symmetrical. So with the block for golf, or with your program that you've developed, we're pretty well able to release those twists and compressions and adhesions, but also strengthen rotation in both directions, not just one. And that's something that I've been doing. And like we were talking before we went live, how much of a difference that makes in your swing in literally a day. You could do a day of blocking. You can, the more you do it, the more results you're going to see.
And I just want to just discuss a little bit about fascia for anybody that's joining us for the first time that doesn't maybe understand the fascia or hasn't heard what we've shared about it before. The fascia literally connects every single cell from head to toe. So when we are addressing an area of pain or an issue, that is very different than the areas of the body that are causing that pain and issue. And that's really what we need to understand. So as I've, been looking at bodies for years and years and years with this, I've really observed how the lower legs and feet are one of the major cause sites for what's going on everywhere up the chain. Because at the end of the day, it's all about flow to and from cells. As long as cells are getting proper amounts of blood and oxygen, they're getting fed properly, and as long as they're getting cleaned efficiently, then the system isn't becoming acidic, which ultimately is the system that's ripe for disease. So it's all about flow, and we need to understand tissue temperature in order to have flow. So, we all live in Winnipeg, where it can go into a deep freeze for sometimes, 4 to 6 months of the year, and our rivers freeze. There isn't flow when it's frozen. So our bodies are like a frozen river. And the further we get from the heat source, which is the diaphragm, the colder the tissue is, and the more magnetically charged it's going to seal onto the bone. So the lower legs and feet are the furthest away from that heat source. So if we have, say, a frozen shoulder and we're working on the shoulder, we also have to look at the body as a whole and realize that what is going on at a distance from that pain site is going to be driving the body back into that negative fascia pattern. So we really have to understand the fascia as a whole and realize it interconnects every single cell. There's a beautiful communication that goes on in this system. And what block therapy does is it really teaches us how to communicate properly with our cells so that we can listen to what they're saying, and we can ultimately become our own self-health care advocate, because who better to know what's going on in your own body than you yourself? But we haven't been given the proper information on how to read the language of the cells. And that's really what block therapy does. And it's all part of this intuitive process. So do you guys want to touch on that a little bit? I see you guys nodding lots.
Yeah, for sure. Like just the healthy living, like block has just led me down that road, and I'm a lot more in tune with my body now. And it's interesting how you talked about the mobility change and the pattern of motion from the ground up. And it's interesting. I have limited mobility in my ankles. And, there's a test we do for golf called the dorsiflexion test for measuring ankle mobility. And it's interesting, when my ankles are tight, my back is bothering me. The correlation is with that. And my left side, too, is tighter than my right. Interesting, L5, S1, left side of the body. It's interesting. And when that mobility chain is broken, you're going to have dysfunction up the chain somewhere. And then you have compensations in the body. And then that leads to injury, pain, and it leads to compensations, especially in your golf motion. So now you start doing things in your swing to compensate for that. And you can't help yourself. Your coach might be telling you, change your technique, you got to work on that, do this and that, but you're not physically able to do it because the mobility chain is broken.
Yeah, I mean, using the block certainly helps you become more body aware.
Yeah.
As you do the different positions within the block, I know for myself, you become more aware of where your restrictions are, where the cause sites are versus the pain sites. And I know with working with some of my students as well, who are multi-sport people, golf is one of their sports, but they've found and made comments where once they've done the Block for Golf program, which is a great basic foundational program for golfers because it touches the all parts of the body, they've found that their other sports they do, like tennis and squash, they've had huge benefits there as well. So, that's really great to see and hear. But really becoming, I think, more aware of your body is huge benefits for everybody, because then it leads into that self-care. Which areas to address, if you're overcompensating in one area or another, and you learn about this whole cause site, pain site matter, which I think a lot of people don't fully understand.
Yeah.
And just getting back to that rib cage a bit, because now we're in this viral crisis right now with COVID-19, and ultimately it's affecting the way people are breathing. So this comes down to the rib cage and really understanding what we need to do for the rib cage to support proper breath and to improve our immune system. And so, the diaphragm muscle, it's the foundation of the rib cage. But if we're not conscious breathers, we're not consciously strengthening this muscle. And we all go to the gym, well, we don't all go to the gym, but we go to the gym to strengthen certain areas of the body. And the thing with the diaphragm that's so challenging is we don't see it. It's inside the body. It's a plate of muscle that moves up and down. So if we aren't taught to be conscious breathers, this muscle becomes weak. And as with any weak foundation, it creates collapse into the core of the body, which is also driven by the lower legs and the feet. So as we collapse, that space between the ribs is compromised and the ribs get really sticky. And of course, the rib cage is the strongest support for what's going on inside of the body because it houses the heart, the most important organ in the body. But what in part makes this cage so strong is its flexibility. So if we aren't conscious breathers, we collapse and the rib cage turns into a solid piece of armor as opposed to being something flexible that can handle forces and can adapt to those forces. So as we are, relating that back to golf, now, if we have a rib cage that is frozen, how can we create that rotation to really get the power behind the drive, or any other rotation sport, which is pretty much most sports? There's always going to be a component of, working one body right to left. I was a provincial volleyball player, so I was a power hitter. And the number of times like my right arm was up over and I brought that arm down and I compressed that left side of my rib cage, what that did to my body as well. I mean, I've worked over years to undo the damage that I did as an athlete in my teenage years. So, but back to the full breathing piece, when we can truly get back to that full diaphragmatic breath, strengthening that foundation piece of the rib cage, we are able to move the waste so efficiently out of the body and to pull in that oxygen. And we've said this many times, but in Stephen Cope's book, Yoga and the Quest for the True Self, this was where I read, and it makes total sense to me, that we feed the body up to 6 times the amount of oxygen when we breathe diaphragmatically. And the reason is because it's at the base of the lungs where the majority of the oxygen receptor sites reside. So if we are breathing through the muscles of the upper chest, we simply aren't bringing the air deeply enough into the lungs for that absorption. Similarly, if we're not exhaling from that right place, we're not moving the waste fully and completely out of the body, which is creating a toxic body, and toxic cells expand in size. And 2014 study in Medical News, which we've mentioned many times, 84% of weight loss comes through proper exhalation. So, Barry, like when you're saying, for example, or both of you, when you're doing this process for pain or for whatever reason it brought you here, suddenly you're seeing your weight dropping. And it's like, well, how is that even happening? But that's ultimately how it's happening. We're engaging this powerful cleaning system of the body, that full exhalation, and we're detoxifying, which is what's totally necessary to improve our immune health right now.
And that's just so cool with block therapy in general and just how the body works. You can have the intention of doing block therapy to lose weight, but you're also going to notice many other multiple benefits from it, such as maybe pain went away, digestion has improved, like anything really. And this is just a perfect example with you guys because you're noticing all these other amazing results. And that was the same thing with me. I first started off, okay, I want to see if this is going to help me with bodybuilding when I was bodybuilding. And then I noticed a million other things just started to change. And I'm like, okay, this is literally the answer to pretty well all issues in the body to an extent. That's where I just got blown away. I'm like, okay, Deanna's onto something here. This is big. So I'm just so happy that you guys have been able to incorporate this into golf and into pretty well any rotation sport ultimately, because that's what it all comes down to.
It's totally huge. As Deanna was talking about the postural alignment, especially the rib cage, that's just massive for dealing with back pain. When I first started going through the block, I mentioned I had 3 pretty significant rib releases. And I thought, what is going on here? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is supposed to help my back. And like, I'm having these massive rib releases and my posture was so out of whack, and every time after those rib releases, I felt way better. Yeah. Way better.
I should probably just share what that is, because a rib release is specific to block therapy. Yeah. So it's not a subluxed rib, which some people have. But what ultimately happens, again, as these ribs over time, they seal together, they freeze together. As we start doing block therapy and we start heating our system, those frozen ribs start to separate. And sometimes, you know, one rib can go boom. And then what results is inflammation, because inflammation is actually the healing stuff in the body. We, like, many people think inflammation is the problem. In my view, inflammation is not the problem. It's the response to compression and scar tissue. And if we know what to do with that inflammation, then it becomes a healing agent for basically everything going on in the body. So rib releases can be really painful for some people, because as those ribs release, now we've opened up this area that hasn't had proper flow. So now through the inflammation, the body is sending blood and oxygen and whatever nutrients is required to rebuild that tissue. But as with inflammation, it adds pressure. So depending on the degree of release that we have, sometimes that can be a really painful process, but we teach people how to get through it really fast. As well, we have an amazing community. And what is so fun for me to see, because, you know, a few years back, when people would have it and you don't understand what's going on, it brings fear into the equation. So, I mean, it was a lot of time of me talking to people one-on-one. Now we have this community, and so many people have had a rib release. Other people are saying, well, I haven't had a rib release. When am I going to have one? And the reality is not everybody's going to have one. Some people have them, some people don't. Some people have them and they're not painful. Some people have one, some people have multiple. Some people have them and they think they've broken a rib. And I mean, it is that. But at the end of the day, it's because we're ultimately realigning the entire fascia structure. We're moving all of our cells back to where they're ultimately supposed to be positioned, because they've fallen away from proper alignment. And in the book that we're sharing here as a free gift, Fascia Decompression, the Missing Link in Self-Care, I have a chapter called Cellular Migration, discussing what ultimately happens with the aging process. And just on that note, just because today's a really fun day in our private group, Quinn, if you can in fact put the link for our block therapy community, we just completed a 21-day facelift challenge. So we have our top 3 finalists, and we're letting the community decide who gets first, second, and third. And when I saw these before and after photos after only 21 days, I was blown away. I mean, I've been doing this now for 20 years, but to see these before and afters of people following this daily program, and one day was a 90-minute, 3 of the 21 days was a 90-minute class. The rest of the days were 30 minutes. And these were the results. So if anybody out there wants to join our community and see the changes in our top finalists, and you can even vote on who you think should be the winner, please join, because it's pretty exciting to see what's just happened.
That's cool.
That's a lot of fun.
And not to mention both of you, since I first met you, I can't even believe how much younger you both look. Like, it's incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, I mean, block therapy is, you know, done wonders for us. You know, before I got into block therapy, I retired from the provincial government, and I had like 30 years of sitting at a desk being hunched over, and I cringe even to put my body in that position now. And so I was just not aware of what I was doing to my body, with, you know, collapsing into my core and causing all this neck and shoulder trouble, let alone, you know, all my other hip and other aches and pains that I was getting. And, you know, I'm in my early 60s now, and I want to stay fit and healthy for a long time and mobile. And so this to me is like the, you know, the missing link, right? It's the fountain of youth. It's helped us to kind of regain our youth and our energy and our health. And I just, you know, you feel so good. It's one of those things, like, you have to experience it to really understand what it does for you, because it's truly amazing. And we had some clinics that we did last summer where we were talking about block and mobility and things like that, and health. And we got some of the students to come and just try the block, the belly position, for like the 3 minutes. And they were amazed. After 3 minutes, they could already feel something different. So, you know, it just shows you the power of this therapy, and people really need to try it to experience it. It's really hard to explain in words what it does for you.
And what I love that you mentioned, Tammy, was that now you don't even want to go into this position. And I think what happens with this process is, when we aren't conscious, we simply aren't conscious. We don't understand how we're supposed to feel. As we start to feed the body properly, now the body communicates with you, and it lets you know when you're not right. I mean, I still catch myself hyperextending or shifting my weight onto one leg, but when it happens, it triggers in my brain. Instead of my brain having to say, oh, I'm not standing right or I'm not sitting right, my body lets my brain know so that I can pull back. Yes. And the thing is, our body wants to be right. Our body wants to be breathing with the diaphragm. Our cells want to be in correct alignment. We just haven't given the body the tools it needs to promote proper cell alignment. So that's what this process is really all about.
Yeah, totally. That whole body awareness, and even taking that into, the golf game. For me now, I am so much more aware when I'm, just standing, waiting on the golf course. I'm not like, shifting my weight to the one hip and I'm standing, tall. I'm trying not to collapse. So I've just become more aware of just how I stand day to day, whether I'm on the golf course or off the golf course. So it's been a huge benefit that way as well. I mean, again, it just comes back to that body awareness. I think is just critical for everybody. Yeah. Oh, so, totally. And the other thing is, when you're collapsed with that core, Deanna, and you talked about, the rib cage being frozen and that, if you're not aware of that, you can't get into the proper golf posture for some people. And so no matter how hard they try to improve their swing and do things, their body literally does not let them get into the proper position to begin with because they don't have the proper postural alignment. So for us to be able to teach that to them and have them become aware of that is huge for golf.
And it comes back to the fascia being fluid as opposed to being solid and frozen and dry, which is really the state of most of our fascia, most people's fascia. We want to be that, clean, fast flowing river so that we have that ability to move, to be quick on our feet, to adapt as we need to adapt, as opposed to being solid and frozen. And I think it was on our very first fascia discussion, Quinn, where we had talked about, if you look at a dry, dirty sponge, that's kind of the state of most people's fascia. Like you can break it in half, you can't penetrate it. It's like you see it's contracted. As soon as you put that sponge into water, it opens up, it becomes alive. Now you can bend it, you can move it around, it can rotate, and it can come back. And so basically blocking is like putting that sponge in water, cleaning it out and giving it life again. So we're basically putting life back into the fascia so that we can properly feed those cells. Quinn, how are we doing with any questions?
We have some comments and some questions here as well. So I'm just going to read some of these off. Feeling so much better since I was introduced to block. Thanks so much, Jan, for introducing, and Deanna and Quinn for inspiring. Another one, block therapy will be seen as the fountain of youth in a very short period of time. There's nothing that controls the pain of aging as block therapy. Not just golfers, but our huge aging population. Nothing brings our youth back like block therapy.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And then somebody mentioned the face changes are amazing. They really, really are.
They really are.
I put the link in the chat here to our private Facebook community. So you can just click the link, request access, we'll accept you in, and you can see those. So we do have a poll running right now to see who's first, second, and third. Let's see if we have anything else here. How does one try it? I'm assuming block therapy in general. So we have the links to try block therapy, to download Deanna's book, to get the free class that doesn't even have the block included right away. That's all in the description just above the chat here. So if you're wanting to dive in and try it, we've actually had a lot of people joining block therapy recently because we have so much time on our hands right now. People are wanting to take that step into changing or just making a routine change and improving the health of their body. So this really is a perfect time to give block therapy a try. So again, the link to the starter program is in the description there. The link to Tammy and Barry's website is also in the description. So if you just go right to the top, that's where you will see everything there. And then I'm just going to read one more here. Block therapy truly is the game changer we need as people who have had chronic pain. And now as we age in that forward rotational direction closer to the ground, we really need to understand our bodies in a much better way that makes so much sense. The block unblocks their blocks.
I like that.
It's so true. It's a beautiful, life-changing practice. Aging with grace and ease is our birthright. So that was from Shelley L. Hatton, who's one of our instructors as well. So
So something I wanted to add, that with block therapy being a self-care practice, so it's something you can do at home. You don't have to go out to see a therapist. You can do it for yourself. 15 minutes a day really is all you need to make it life-changing. So it's not like you have to do this 1 hour, 2 hour workout. If you put in 15 minutes a day and do some block positions every day, and that's really what the 21-day program is about, that the first one that I took, where, you know, I mean, I can be lazy at times. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to do a workout every day or even 3 times a week. But I thought, oh, I can lay on a piece of wood for 15 minutes a day, like, you know. And so that I got into that, and once you see the changes though and the results that occur, you're just motivated then to do it more and do it longer. But really, if you can do 15 minutes a day, it's life-changing. So,
and what I love about this too is you can do it in bed. So there's lots of people that are coming to block therapy that have debilitating issues. There's other people coming to it because they're athletes who want to improve their performance. And it is a therapy, an exercise, and a meditation all built into one practice. So being able to start, no matter what your situation, improving blood and oxygen to your cells will only improve what's happening. And that was probably one of the harder things for me in the beginning, when people would, you know, talk about, well, what are the benefits? And it's like, well, it's kind of anything and everything, because at the end of the day, if cells aren't properly fed and clean, that's when we start experiencing pain, disease, and suffering. So we're doing the reverse of that, and we are melting through those adhesions that are blocking blood and oxygen flow. So it can be injury or surgery, scar tissue from either one of those blocking flow. It can also be compression from unconscious posture and unconscious breathing over a lifetime that block flow. Either way, flow is the problem. So again, talking about inflammation, you know, even with acute injury, you know, if something is injured acutely, like a sprained ankle, the body sends blood flow right away because it's supposed to help to, well, it's not supposed to, it rebuilds and repairs what has been damaged. When we block that flow by icing for 48 to 72 hours, as I was instructed as an athletic therapist years ago in my practice, that is stopping the body's innate ability to rebuild and heal. And what's left is scar tissue. So now if it's, say you got a contusion in your thigh and you have this big scar tissue, now everything on the other side of that lifelong is not going to be properly fed and clean because you have a dam there. Now, if that's the situation, which it is for all of us starting, because at some point in our life, we've all hurt ourselves, we all developed scar tissue. This is what block therapy does, is it melts through those adhesions all the way to the bone, where it hooks and grips with a 2,000 pound per square inch force. So one of the things too, people often say, like, you know, is it going to damage my organs if I lie on this block? Is it going to, like, you know, move inside the body and damage things? If we can understand and grasp the 2,000 pound per square inch force that we are being held out of alignment, and the power and the force that's constantly acting on all cells in the body, the organs, everything, then lying on this block, which has a very nice amount of surface area, it is not impacting in any negative way. And again, it's something you have to try to really grasp, even how profound and how fast it works. It's something you have to try, because it does sound too good to be true. So it's not, though. It's here and it's right now, and it's inexpensive. It's simple, no skill required. And you can even do it in bed.
Yeah, it's so easy to, you know, and it's, I catch myself falling asleep on it.
Me too.
You know, you sink into it and you relax, and it's very meditative, and you just kind of, everything just kind of melts away, you know, and then you wake up and you go, how long have I been here? You just,
well, and it's also an easy practice to teach people. But in the end, once they learn this technique, it's about them being in control of their body, right? So they determine how deep they want to go based on, you know, whether or not they can breathe properly. So they determine how fast and how deep they can go to help heal themselves. So, you know, many times if you've got, I know I've gone to a massage therapist, and, you know, she's pushing deep, and like, she can't feel what I feel. So she doesn't know until I respond and say, oh, you're going too deep. And then sometimes, you know, I get bruising or injury, but from a massage. But with block therapy, I'm in control. So I know how deep I can go, where it's, that good pain where it feels good to release that pain versus a pain that is, oh, I think I'm going too far here, I need to back off. So that's what I love about block therapy is you're in control and you monitor the depth where you want to go in terms of the how fast you want to heal your body. So it's, I just can't say enough about it.
And just one other thing to add about, sorry, just one other thing to add about the situation that we're in with this virus. The leading medical people are discussing that the best way to handle this is to improve your own health, to improve your immune system function, and connecting through your breath to your proper breath is one of the best ways. I mean, getting vitamin C, vitamin D, like all of the nutrients that we need to support immune health, of course, are necessary, but people overlook oxygen, and the brain will die in 5 minutes without it. Your cells are the same. We need to feed the cells so that they can do their job. It's what's going to allow your body to thrive and be the healthiest version that it can be. So when we are assaulted with things like what we're going through right now, our bodies are capable of handling it. It's not the people that are healthy that are getting affected with this virus. It's the people whose immune systems are already compromised. So we can turn that around. Even if we are compromised with our immune systems, we can change that by strengthening that breath and becoming a conscious diaphragmatic breather and aligning your cells properly. So that again is all part of what we're sharing here.
Yeah, and you can change it really fast. It's amazing how quickly the body can heal if you give it what it needs and the opportunity to heal and to reset. And again, like a lot of things are shut down right now. Pretty well everything is shut down. And if you're going for weekly, monthly treatment somewhere, again, like block therapy is something where you're in control and you can do all of this from your own home. We have all the instruction to teach you how to do this. And I love how Tammy and Barry were describing that, like you're the one in control. And it's so true, because we have to understand that we always have the power within, and just doing the block, following your breath, you're going to know if it's, some people are really compressed, really toxic. If you can't spend 5 minutes in the belly position, which is the first position we teach with block therapy, that's okay. Like maybe you start with a minute, or maybe you have to start on a mattress. Maybe you have to start on your bed. That's totally fine. Everybody starts at their own unique place. That's why it's such a cool journey that everybody goes through, and everybody's journey is completely different and unique. And no matter where you're starting or what your intention is to starting block therapy, that can change drastically, because you're going to start because you have chronic pain, but then you're noticing I already mentioned this, a million other things will start to change positively in your body. And yeah, it's just, it's really cool to see so many of you guys, and Tammy and Barry, how much you guys have changed over the course of, I think we were talking about this before, 4 or 5 years we've known you. And somebody just mentioned, actually Rachel, who's one of our instructors, just commented, Barry, you look so different compared to when he first started. I didn't recognize you. And it's true. Like you really do change, and it's amazing. So if you're wanting to change, you're wanting to give something a new shot, this is the perfect time, the perfect opportunity to try something new.
And on that note, I mean, I'm 20 years in and change continues. And that is another super exciting piece about this is, we don't just get to this point where, we have an end game. The change will continue year after year after year. And that's awesome, because this is a lifestyle. And to know that, I mean, from where I started 20 years ago to now, I mean, things are like completely different. But I know that another year, 5, 10 years from now, from here, things will be still completely different, which excites me to death, because, well, to life. To death. Excites me to life.
It's such a wonderful benefit. Every day, it inside and out. Totally. And you just feel like being better every day and living better every day, and you just keep feeling better. And it's a lifelong practice. It's wonderful.
And, one of the things I think we can't overemphasize is the importance of the breath. And the breathing technique in block therapy is one of the things that make this therapy unique from any other type of fascia release therapy that I've seen out there. Because they talk about melting and they use tools to help release, but they don't bring in the breathing technique, and they don't talk about how that helps to feed and heal the cells and get rid of toxins. You don't hear that in any other type of fascia release programs, and that's why this type of program works better. It's more unique, and it brings better overall health to your body. And I think that's a really important point.
And also, why block therapy is so effective is because we're also not forceful, because a lot of other therapies can be more of a forceful approach. And when you're creating force in the body to release the fascia, and Deanna mentioned the fascia can hold the body up to 2,000 pounds per square inch, which a lot of people will doubt, but I've talked to a lot of people about this, and that is true. It's amazing how powerful the seal really is. Actually, what was I just going to mention? Oh, I had something. Oh yeah. But anyways, so the fascia, when it's so compressed, but you're approaching it forcefully, that can actually cause more tearing. And you have to understand, tearing is a form of injury. And if you don't recover that injury correctly, that's going to inevitably create more scar tissue. So you might feel that release initially, but then if you're not treating that correctly, you're not breathing, you're not bringing the posture component in, then it's just going to build up more scar tissue. So that's why we always approach block therapy from not a forceful approach. We are persuading the tissue to release. We use the term melting because that's what it feels like when you are releasing the tissue. And a lot of people are like, how do you melt tissue? Well, that's an expression that we use, but it's releasing the tissue. And wow, that's what realigns and changes the whole body. And the fascia is this continue moving entity in the body that replies to the forces that are externally applied, but how we treat external stress as well. So if we're always compressed, we're tight, and we're collapsing because of any external force, the fascia is going to grip and hold. But the more we keep doing block therapy, Tammy, you mentioned this before, the more aware we become of our body. And the more aware you become, the quicker you can catch yourself falling out of alignment. The quicker you can know if something isn't intuitively right for you in that moment, or for your posture and for your health. You just become smarter with your body. As simple as that sounds, but that's exactly how I've seen the changes in myself, and clearly with you guys as well.
And also to add, thanks Quinn, that was awesome. To add about the emotional component, fascia also stores negative emotion. So if we have trauma from past, or if we were experiencing any kind of negativity, that gets stuck because pain, fear, and stress cause us to reactively hold the breath. So if we're having emotional stress, I mean, we all know that, like, again, right now what's going on, we are all being pummeled with fear, because you just put on the news and you're not going to hear much that's positive. You're going to hear a lot of stuff that's fear-based, and that causes us to contract and pull in. And pain, fear, and stress cause us to reactively hold the breath. And that's why they say stress kills. That's also why laughter is the best medicine, because you're actively engaging this full conscious exhalation when you're laughing with like a robust amount of movement in your body. So when we connect to this, we open up those areas of fascia that have stored that negative emotion. And that can be part of the healing crisis. We can have emotional releases. Sometimes we might just start crying, or we might feel really angry. That's your body opening up and releasing those waves of emotion as you go through this process as well. So just again, back to what's going on today, it is really important that we keep our internal world peaceful and calm, because no matter what is going on outside in the world, we have that ability to self-care, to keep our bodies safe and healthy. And even looking at fit versus healthy, we want to first be healthy, then we want to be fit. There's so many people that are fit, but they're not healthy. And we might look at them and say, well, wow, they don't have a lot of body fat, or they're a hard body, or they're nice and toned. But that doesn't mean that their insides are getting what they need to be healthy inside on a cellular basis. So really getting back to breathing first and bringing proper breath into whatever you're doing in life is going to bring that health factor to the forefront. And then everything else that happens after is amazing, but we don't want to put anything in front of our health, and especially today.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just the whole wellness, it's it's totally inside out. And I've noticed that too in the last, several years doing the block. My state of well-being has totally changed. Not just physically, but mentally. I'm calmer. I'm more positive. I'm more upbeat. I'm just a state of just accepting things. Like it's amazing.
And that is really clear just talking to you, Barry and Tammy, both of you, like what's exuding from you both. And Tammy, I can't believe you're in your 60s. I didn't know that. Holy smokes.
What?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I try not to think about it, but
and you don't have to think about it.
I know.
It's just a number. It's just a number.
Age is just a number. It's meaningless. It's meaningless.
Yeah.
It's a state of mind and body. That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So why don't you both share now what else you offer in Hole-in-One Success?
Okay. We are working on a couple of programs that we are going to be launching online, where, of course, that we're building in block therapy as one of the techniques. Because we do offer some other areas. I am a certified Jack Canfield Success Principles trainer, so we build that into what we do in terms of your mindset and tying it into the whole wellness of the body inside out. Moving from the inside out, as well as we're both TPI certified, which is Titleist Performance Institute, to assess bodies for mobility and stability issues. Barry, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's really the Titleist Performance. TPI is probably the leading researchers in terms of body mobility and training for golfers. Block therapy complements that so well, because mobility, you don't have mobility if you can't move your fascia. So it complements any of the training programs that we do with that.
So we're going to be launching an online program that brings those together soon, as well as we're looking at a couple other, we're looking at a mastermind program that we're going to launch as well. So some things that'll be coming out on our website soon. So we hope people stay tuned. Yeah, it'll be some fun stuff.
Wonderful. You guys have a lot of great things going on. So Quinn, is there any more questions before we wrap this up?
I'm just going to take one more look here. We have some comments. A lot of people are laying on their block and listening.
Nice.
Awesome. That's a great comment. From a question perspective, no, doesn't seem like we have any more questions, but we'll just wait another 30 seconds. So if anybody has questions right now, this is the perfect opportunity because we have Tammy and Barry live. And of course, if you guys ever have questions or you're viewing this at a later time, you can always ask us questions in the private Facebook community. You can comment on this video.
And we've listed Tammy and Barry's website. We also have a link for the free book and the free class. So again, for anybody that doesn't have a block, that is not in a position to buy a block, or wants to try a little bit of fascia decompression before committing to that expense, that free class, now you do need a partner. So, I mean, if you're completely isolated and alone, that class isn't going to work for you. But if you are with somebody and you can actually, have someone touching you, it teaches you how to really simply open up the rib cage to get back to diaphragmatic breathing. And then we also have the link in there if people want to simply start for our starter package.
Yeah, and golfers can reach out, or non-golfers, they can reach out to us if they have questions. And yeah, we're happy to share.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else to share, thank you both so much. Thank you, Quinn, as always. And thank you all for taking the time to listen. This is going to be, of course, on our YouTube channel for anybody to watch at any time. And everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and breathe and believe. Have a wonderful day.
Walk on. Thanks for having us. Be safe, everybody. Be well.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.